And I just wanted to be a good person.
Right.
But that took on more of a maladaptive form. Perfectionism is this all or nothing model. Shame is the fear that you cannot change. Self-compassion is the faith that you absolutely can.
Even if you have the equal opportunity, physically you are built different. It's whether their mental health, their physical health, but they just want to keep going and be hard on themselves. So why is it like that for women? I have someone with me today who I think is going to hit home for so many of you, especially if you have ever felt like you are either crushing it or completely falling apart with nothing in between. Monica Baker is a habits and identity coach, host of the About Progress podcast, which has millions of downloads, and she's spent years helping women trade perfectionism for something far more sustainable, real sticky progress. Her upcoming book, Sticky Habits, is out this fall, and I cannot wait for the world to have it. Hi guys, welcome to It Girl Diary podcast. This is Nisha and I have someone special with me today. Please welcome our guest, Monica. Can you tell me more about your podcast? I would love to hear from you because I know you will be the best person to explain about your podcast.
Yes, happy to share more.
Yeah.
My podcast is called About Progress, and it's where we are about progress made practical. So much of the self-help world is about these all or nothing maxims
Right.
and this toxic positivity that is so absent of the nuance of everyday life. I hate it. And I think a lot of people do too, or they just blame themselves instead of realizing that what they're being taught is to blame. And so on my community podcast, and what we do together is to try to bridge that gap between self-help and real life and how to make progress outside of perfectionism.
Wow. I knew you could really explain it better, and the few phrases you used are really stuck with me. Even in your podcast, also, I listened that you said that, all or nothing mindset, and so many of us stuck with that mindset. And even I struggle with that every single day
Yes.
till now. Like, I have, suppose, the to do list of 10 items, and if I even get slightest feeling that I might not be able to finish it completely, I just drop the ball then and there.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you come up with this? Like, when did you realize that okay, this has to stop? And as you said, you call yourself the recovering perfectionist. So what was that moment when you decided, okay, this is not working?
As most big life changes are, it was more a series of moments
Mm-hmm.
around a certain time frame. The first time frame for me was when I was 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in my life, I had been the stereotype of perfectionist. I was an aspiring perfectionist. I wanted to be a perfectionist. I wanted to be seen as a perfectionist. I was really in pursuit of achievements, goals, metrics, but all from good intention. I just wanted to be a good person. And I wanted to be good at things. I've always had this personality of striving for more and wanting things to be better and different for myself and for other people.
Right.
But that took on more of a maladaptive form for me. It became more of a toxic way of looking for change because it was only about outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very harsh on my identity and the way I saw
Right.
myself, but also extremely hard on my mental health. At 20 years old, that's when I hit a rock bottom with my mental health. I was suffering from multiple eating disorders, and with them, all the mental health issues that come with that, from depression to panic attacks to even suicidal ideation. And it's just the saddest thing that in my pursuit to be a better person, I almost lost my life because of these all or nothing metrics that I thought you were supposed to live by in order to get better. That's the only path I really saw. We have this huge culture worldwide, I would say, of self-development, of working on your career, where it's all about grit and putting in the time and hustling. And we miss that we are paying prices for that. And my prices were pretty steep. And so after that, I embarked on recovery. And for me, that took many years. I'm now 20 years post that, and things are a lot different now for me. So much easier with many areas that I was struggling with then. But it took probably 10 years, I would say, for me to feel like I
Wow.
was beginning to actually see some changes. And as a result of that, for another 10 years, I went to this nothing side. I was too afraid to try, Nisha. I thought
Oh my God.
I don't want to pay that price again. I can't
Right.
go there again. And so because of that, I just won't try anymore. Like for my job I was a middle school teacher before I had kids, and then I became a stay-at-home mom. Um, Teaching pays really terribly in the States. I'm not sure how it
Yeah.
is in India. Maybe it's a
Yeah, it
worldwide
is
issue.
same. No, no, it is worldwide issue.
Yeah. It was a better decision for us as a
Mm-hmm.
family for me to be home. But regardless, I could show up for my responsibilities. I could do what needed to be done habit
Mm-hmm.
wise, routine wise, task wise to fulfill my responsibilities. But for myself, everything was on the sidelines for my own
Mm-hmm.
dreams, for my own passions, hobbies, and habits. And
Right.
at 30 years old, it's another 10-year marker,
Yeah.
I found myself in a similar place as I did at 20.
Oh
Thankfully,
my
the
God.
eating disorders weren't as prevalent. They were something I
Mm-hmm.
was making progress in finally, but my
Mm-hmm.
mental health was in shambles again.
Oh.
And I found an amazing therapist
Mm-hmm.
who pointed out to me very bluntly but kindly that I was a perfectionist. And I laughed in her face because I thought I have done nothing. What are you talking about? I have zero achievements now. I
Mm-hmm.
wait on the sidelines for everything. I don't try anymore. And she helped me see that that's still perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned over the years since then is that perfectionism is this all or nothing model of misplacing our identity on our outcomes, whether we have them or we don't. And it's a spectrum of perfectionism,
Mm-hmm.
the all or the nothing. And most times people bounce back and forth like a pendulum between
Right.
the two. You pay a price for the all, so you go to nothing. And then you're like, I want to try again, so I better try and do this sheer grit and willpower model. And you put in all, and then you pay the price and you go back to nothing. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's like a really fast pendulum, and sometimes it's like a slow one, or sometimes you stay in one for a while and then you go to the other side. But learning that changed my life because it helped me see that no matter what, I was in the same place. I was absent of my own life. I was sacrificing me for outcomes, whether I had them or not. And I wanted to find a new way to grow outside of all or nothing. And that's what began my experiment of progress outside of
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism. And now I've been doing that for 10 years. And
Wow.
I can tell you, Nisha, that I have grown exponentially, making space for failure, having more nuance about what it takes to change, using self compassion instead of shame, which perfectionism is driven by. I have changed exponentially the last 10 years as I've made space to be a human reaching for progress.
Wow. Your story is really relatable, and I'm so sorry, Monica, that you had to go through all of these phases.
Thank you.
And when you said that you were struggling with all or nothing, I just wanted to ask that is it just in your work, or you used to struggle it with your family or other
Mhm,
relationships or other aspect of your life, whether it's health, work, we have multiple
mhm.
aspects. So everyone struggles with one or the other aspects when it comes to
Yeah.
all or nothing. So how was it for you?
I think for me, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because I think it can exist in different categories differently. For my work, it felt so, even though I was passionate about teaching and helping my kids, my students do better, it felt absent of it felt separate from my identity. It felt more like a responsibility. So I didn't as much feel the all or nothing pendulum swing in my work. And my motherhood, I would say the tendency is there more because of the pressure to be a quote unquote perfect mom. So there's probably different parts of the spectrum going on with each thing. But work for me was it was kind of absent of that. Motherhood, it was definitely more present. Myself, it was definitely present, but more on the nothing side for many years. So I think it's important for people to think of that. Maybe it's not just copy paste for every category in your life, but maybe it's good to think about how it's showing up differently for each category.
Right. And when you said that it's kind of like the pendulum, you swing
Hmm.
from to the one side. So I think I realized just now that for me, it is throughout the week only. Like first three
Huh.
days, I will, just go like crazy mad woman. And in the, last 3 days, I'll just crash out and, just
Yes.
go into that rabbit hole where I also eat like I think I've gained like 15 kgs weight around this year, and just because I think this was my mindset, like I need things to be perfect. And
Yes.
now I can see how it can, affect all areas of your life.
Well, I think this is an important thing for us to consider. A lot of us are terrified of making space for things to be less than perfect because we think that's
Right.
the only way. But I would have people think about, is it working for me actually?
Mm-hmm.
Is it working? And I would say 9.5 times, maybe 10 times out of 10, it's not. Even if on the outside in that particular area it's working, let's say with your health, it does work to be
Mm-hmm.
all, and you're doing super well there, but you're going to pay price in another area of your life.
Right.
Your mental health, your relationships, your career, there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be something always paying the price for the all
Mm-hmm.
or nothing pendulum swing. So yeah, think about, does this work for me? And I'm
Correct.
sure the answer is going to be actually no. Like ultimately, big picture, it's not sustainable. I am paying a price
Mm-hmm.
for it. My identity is suffering, the way I see myself, my relationships, that I would ask you to have the courage to try a different way.
Correct. So, how do one realizes that okay, this is the area where I'm doing all or nothing?
Hmm.
And even when they realize, it is so difficult to take the step back, because obviously when we are perfectionist, we feel like we there is back of your mind, there is also this pressure that if I slow down or if I don't do this perfectly, I might lose something, whether it's progress, people in
Hmm.
your life, relationships. So how do you stay in that space and not go back and forth once you realize what is the first step that you should take?
The first step is awareness
Right.
because it's actually these tendencies are so ingrained in us. They're very deep in our subconscious. You said you navigate this every day. I do too. That's
Correct.
why I call myself a recovering perfectionist because it's still a work. And I'm not trying to equate that with being a recovering alcoholic or anything like that to that degree. That's so much harder.
Exactly.
Um, but the parallel I'm trying to make is it is an everyday thing, not a battle. Like when I was
Mm-hmm.
recovering from eating disorders, that was an everyday battle. That was a war minute by minute to
Mm-hmm.
fight for my recovery. But with perfectionism, it's more of just this general awareness of thoughts and feeling and noticing where it pops up and how it shapes the behaviors too. So awareness is the most important part. It's something that I work on with every client that I've ever
Mm-hmm.
had, and I've had multiple hundreds now. And then I would say if I could add a second thing, it's self-compassion. I said
Wow.
earlier that perfectionists drive off of shame.
Hmm.
That's their fuel, shame.
Right.
Okay. Shame is the fear that you cannot change.
Mm.
Self compassion is the faith that you absolutely can. When
Wow.
we use self compassion, it's not apathy. It's not saying, oh, I guess I'll just not try then. That's
Mm-hmm.
actually perfectionism too.
Right.
Not trying is perfectionism. Okay. Self compassion is making progress, striving for change, working on things, improving with a generosity of heart and mind and spirit towards yourself, of knowing that it's not going to be perfect. You're allowed for things to be messy. You're allowed to not hit the ideal every single time, every single day. And with that, that gives you a better fuel to stay on the path because progress does take time. But
Mm-hmm.
when you stay on the path to progress instead of perfectionism, like I said, your growth will be exponential over time
Right.
because you're playing the long game and it will be sustainable. So that's why self compassion has to be the next big thing you focus on. And it's paired with awareness. How are you talking to yourself? How do you allow yourself the humanity you need to grow? And that's actually another thing my therapist, excuse me, pointed out to me. We were talking about an area I was
Mm.
really frustrated by that I was trying to work on. And she called me out and she said, why is Monica Packer not allowed to be human?
Wow.
And, that was probably 15 years ago that she said that, probably
Mm-hmm.
13 years ago, and never left me. I have a terrible memory. Everything just flies right out of my brain, but that stuck with me. So that's self compassion.
Right.
It's not apathy. It's not trying. It's trying with a different mindset and grace towards yourself.
Wow, that is really good. And the things you said are really deep. I would have to say, like, I have to re listen to what you just said, because if you re listen to it, it has so much of depth. And right now on the social media, last year there was this trend of romanticizing your life.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so I can, like, if I want some Gen Z or younger people to understand this, you can put it really like this, like self compassion is nothing but, just romanticizing even the small element, even if it is not the 100%, not the perfect way of living your
That's
life.
right. Right.
Yeah,
And how romanticizing your life is so small and so simple, which is actually
exactly.
how we grow. And when I talked about the long game of progress, you have
Mm-hmm.
to believe in the process of growth. And the process really is, and this is science backed, it's not just my own experience. The process to growth is small wins build over time.
Wow.
That's how we save money. That's how we invest money. That's how we
Mm-hmm.
grow too as people. That's how our relationships deepen or fray. So
Yes.
knowing that it's the smallest and simplest things
Mm-hmm.
where we can actually change. Today, for example, Nisha, I normally have a typical workout I do each morning before my kids are up because
Mm-hmm.
I need quiet. I know I'm loud. I know I can talk, but I'm an introvert. I need
Okay. Uh-huh.
silence and quiet and solitary time. So that's why I wake up early before my kids, not because it's morally superior. I actually hate waking up earlier, but I love the time to myself. But I have this set time that I wake up. I have a set workout amount that I do. Last night I went to bed later than
Mm-hmm.
normal. And then my husband accidentally woke us up because he knocked something off on the nightstand and it took us a while to go
Oh.
back to sleep. And then my 3-year-old woke up and I was up with him for about 40 minutes, went back to sleep.
Wow.
I was tired. So I didn't wake up at my normal time. I woke up an hour later.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the all or nothing like demon, came into
Mm-hmm.
my head and was like, just why don't do anything now? Just hit snooze and just wait till the very last minute to get up with your
Right.
kids because now you can't do your full workout.
Mm-hmm.
But I reminded myself, no, even the smaller version of what I normally do counts. So I still got
Right.
up and I did 20 minutes instead of my full thing. And
Mm-hmm.
then after my kids went to school, I walked on my treadmill for 30 minutes while I worked. So, I mean, I'm sure like a health fitness person would be like, that's basically nothing. But you know
Mm-hmm.
what? For me, it was me being consistent with a
Mm-hmm.
habit. It was me allowing myself the grace for it to be different than
Right.
normal. It was me making space for the nuance of life and being
Mm-hmm.
human, and I still was able to have the support I needed from that habit because I had that time to myself still, even for 20 minutes that counted. And the
Correct.
movement is a really important way for me to maintain my mental health, which is a really important thing for me. So that's just a small example too of how I love how you brought up the romanticizing your life. I think
Yeah.
that's a wonderful parallel. It's 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 believing that these small and simple things matter. The
Mm-hmm.
small ways we prioritize ourselves and also the ways we still make space for less than ideal attempts at the things that matter to
Mm-hmm.
us. They count too.
Correct. And I really love that you said that consistency matters, and obviously for the health perspective it may not be nothing, like, but when you look at that from the wider picture and look at it as the each aspect of your life, all that small things really matters. So how did you teach yourself that consistency matters more than the intensity? Because as a perfectionist, I know sometimes we have this very hardcore idea that I have to do these things for 1 hour or 30 minutes, or whatever your parameter is. So how did you
Yes.
teach yourself that parameter doesn't matter, the way you show up, like just showing up every day matters more than that parameter?
Mm-hmm. I would say this is one of those proof is in the pudding things. The way I taught myself is by doing it, by
Mm-hmm.
having the courage to try to do it differently. But that also begins with a mindset shift too. So on the outside, practically, I had to try to do it
Hmm.
differently to prove to myself. But also internally, I had to start thinking about consistency different. I think we often equate consistency with perfection,
Right.
with rigidity. We do the same thing in the same exact way at the same time of day, day after day. That's consistency. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if any of your listeners or you, Nisha, have done a habit challenge, where it's like 28 days, we're all working out, or
Mm-hmm.
21 days, we're all reading a book, or like we're all doing this thing. And
Yeah.
then if you get to 18 of the 21 days, or 23 to the 28, and you can't do it in the exact same way, it's like the whole thing was lost.
Hmm.
Okay. That's how people define consistency. It's like a
Exactly. Yeah.
constant running 28-day challenge that never ends. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we quit or we pay
Right.
prices. Okay. So let me redefine consistency for you and your community. Consistency is not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is doing your best most of the time over time. And with this, there's a
Wow.
few things.
Mm-hmm.
You are playing the long game again. Okay. This is over time. You're looking
Mm-hmm.
at sustainability, which is what consistency is. Another thing
Mm-hmm.
is the target is more times than not. If you are doing a habit 4 out of 7 days, you are consistent with that habit. Or if your
Wow.
ideal is 3 times a week and sometimes you hit two, that's still fine. You're being
Mm-hmm.
consistent. And the final thing here is doing your best. That's not perfection. That's knowing that your best is allowed to change day to
Mm-hmm.
day, season to season. Today, I did my best
Right.
with how I worked out and when I got up in the morning. That was the best I could do today. And it was different
Mm-hmm.
than my best yesterday. But because of that flexibility I gave myself, I was able to be consistent in having the habit. So people think that flexibility and consistency are competing ideals.
Mm-hmm.
They are complementary. Flexibility makes consistency possible.
Right.
Again, it's not apathy. That's all or nothing.
Hmm.
When you have flexibility, you are allowed to do your best and show up far more consistently in the true sense of the word and have the sustainability that you actually want over time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This really redefines the consistency for, I think, all the listeners. Just showing up in your, and I really love the way you said that the definition of giving your best changes every day.
Yeah.
And it really matters because life happens, things happens, your energy fluctuates, and you have to show up in whatever way you can. And I'm sure like you receive emails from so many women from your community, you have worked with so many women. So what do you think is the major factor that like women are so hard on themselves?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the major root cause, like common denominator in majority of women? What do you think it is? So that
Mm-hmm.
they are, constantly struggling with their best self only. Like they want to challenge themselves, keep up leveling, and no matter what it takes, it's whether their mental health, their physical health, but they just want to keep going and be hard on themselves. So why is it like that for women?
Mm-hmm. Um, and this is such a thoughtful
Mm.
question because I don't think we often consider this.
Yeah.
I work with women specifically because it's my lived experience, but
Mm-hmm.
also because there is a whole other level of perfectionism with women.
Right.
And I think it goes back to that definition, a misplacement of identity on our outcomes. It's the outcomes piece to it that I think is particularly harsh on women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I broke my nose last winter. I went on
Oh
a,
my God.
we live in the mountains, so I go skiing with my
Mm-hmm.
kids, but I got hit by a snowboarder, broke my nose. Finally went to the nose surgeon a couple weeks ago to be like, how, I got to fix this because I got to breathe again.
Right.
Okay, a long story short, I found out, and again, this is probably speaking to our insurance in America, but they could make my inside straight and insurance would cover that, but
Mm-hmm.
insurance will not cover the outside of my nose getting straightened.
Oh my God.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I was like, how can you
Yeah.
straighten the inside
Right.
and not the outside? But they can.
Oh
And
my
I've
God.
been debating ever since because either I pay just a few I pay less, way less to get my
Right.
inside straightened, or I pay way more to get my outside straightened too. But why I'm bringing this up is because the surgeon, who's a male doctor, told me the world is far harsher on women's appearance than men. He's like,
Right.
you do whatever you want. I want you to breathe better and we can make that happen. He said the whole inside of my nose is a zigzag because, to be honest, Nisha, that's not the first time I broke my nose. My kids have headbutted me so many
Oh
times
my
as
God.
toddlers that
And
I've
can I
had my
imagine you
nose
have five
broken.
of them? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And yesterday I just got hit in the face by a ball at my kid's school
Oh my
so hard
God,
that I'm
that
like,
is
oh, did
so
it broke again.
hurtful. I hope you
I'm
are doing
so
okay.
funny. I know. I'm like, maybe I should wait like 10 years to have the
Yeah.
surgery. So it's because I'm going to get headbutted again. But anyway, I have thought so much about what he said about that. Clearly that's part of his work is he notices that. And he
Right.
sees probably a lot more women in his office like me. Like maybe a man is like, I can live with a crooked nose the rest of my
Hmm.
life. And honestly, I technically could. I'm sure I could. But I've thought about that because that to me is very symbolic of what it is to be a woman. There's so much pressure to perform, and it's all about appearances. And I'm
Right.
not just talking about the way we look, although that is a huge factor. That's a large part of what drove my perfectionism as a teen and my eating disorders. It was the appearance centric
Wow.
part of it, right? But it's what the appearance represents to the world. We're not dumb. We're not vain. We're not basing our the appearance factor alone is not just because we want to look pretty. It's because we know we are accepted more.
Hmm.
We are esteemed more. It's easier to
Right.
get to where we want to be with the world. So we're actually playing a game with that. But that whole part of it, I think, trickles down to who we are as women in every other facet. This pressure to perform, to be perfect, is about acceptance. And it's about being able to get ahead in a world that wasn't designed for us in so many ways. There's
Right.
a lot of research on that. I'll just recommend a book to you and your audience,
Hmm.
Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. In it,
Okay.
she talks about how everything from heart medication to the way buses are navigating around cities is based off of men,
Wow.
not women. Even though women are the primary bus users, they
Right.
don't
So yeah.
decide the mapping of where the stop should go based off of where women tend to go and what they need to do. Same thing with like your iPhone. Like an iPhone is often too big for your female hand. Siri
Yes,
for
it
many
is.
years, yeah, and like all these smart speakers wouldn't recognize women voices because they were trained to recognize men voices. So when I said the world isn't designed for us, that's what I mean.
Wow.
And things are gradually going to shift. That book will make you angry, but it will also explain a whole lot. This is why we have this pressure because we are trying to fit in and maybe rise above or work with this world that wasn't even designed for us.
Wow, that makes so much sense that why we have so much pressure. Like since our childhood, we have been told by society like you were supposed to do this, supposed to do that. And I think the society accept us when we are someone and we are
Yeah.
not acceptable as we are. I think that has been taught to us since we were kids, and that could be the one of the reasons. And I really love the name of your book, that is The Sticky Habits. And that sticky word says a lot. So, what do you think? Like, what makes habits stick versus fizzle away in 2, 3 weeks?
um, so that's a big part of what I talk about in the book.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do away with that 2 or 3 week like challenge system. Like habits are about support,
Mm-hmm.
and sticky habits are not just about having habits that are consistent, but habits that consistently help us feel like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being productive and achieving.
Right.
It's about feeling like I can be me. I can be Nisha. I can be Monica. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I can now bring myself to my responsibilities and perform well there because I am supported too. So the book is coming out in September of 2026. People can pre-order it now at stickyhabitsbook.com. But I'll just tell you, Nisha, I didn't intend to become a habit person. Like I thought I wasn't one
Mm-hmm.
because again, I thought it only looked like a certain way and the all
Right.
of all or nothing. And that
Mm-hmm.
consistency was perfection. And I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm trying to do a new way. But then I gradually learned a big part of my work initially was rediscovering who I am at my
Mm-hmm.
core, outside of anything appearance or outcome oriented. Who am I at my core? And once I learned that, I hit a plateau. And the
Okay.
plateau was my day to day life was not reflecting that identity. I needed to sleep to feel like
Right.
myself.
Yeah.
I needed to move my body to have sound mental health. I needed hobbies, habitual hobbies. I
Mm-hmm.
needed rest. I needed a connection with myself and others. Those were the things that the small and simple things that really mattered for me to support my identity and who I am. So I fell into it really. And a big part of how I fell into it was reading all the best-selling books out there on habit formation and
Right.
failing at their methods over and over. And then my clients failing at their methods over and over too, because we were working on their identity and their day-to-day lives needed to support that identity too.
Right.
And we finally realized my own eureka moment was all these books are written by men. And it's not that men are the
Yes.
worst. I have an amazing husband who's a partner with me in every way. But our lives are different from men's lives as women. I
Mm-hmm.
talked about that book, Invisible Women, but there's another book called Fair Play by Eve Rotsky that talks about how invisible labor is
Mm-hmm.
something that women across the entire world carry far more than men. In India, actually, the statistic is 6 hours to men's 1 hour
Yeah.
in invisible work at home, caretaking work. And that's whether or not the woman is working outside the home.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you have kids or not. It doesn't matter if you're retired, if you stay home with your kids, if you work outside of the home. That's what we're working with. And that
Mm-hmm.
means we have less time, we
Right.
have less energy, we have more interruptions, we have less predictability in our
Mm-hmm.
schedules. So our habits need to be designed to be flexible
Right.
so that we can maintain them, so we can have the support we need. And I illustrated that in my morning workout example, but the
Mm-hmm.
book expounds a ton more on that and gives a method that is tailor designed by a woman
Mm-hmm.
for women who
Wow.
live this reality every single day and who have perhaps failed at their habits several times in the past or for many, many years and thought, I'm just not a habit person.
Mm-hmm.
When really, the methods you've been using were never made with you in mind.
Right.
So let's change that. And I think you're going to find, actually, I know you're going to find you're a habit person. Every person is a habit person. We
Mm-hmm.
just need to do habits differently.
Right. Wow, this makes so much sense, and I can't wait to read your book. But you know, the word consistence has become, as you said, there are so many books written by men. There are so many, motivational speakers who are men only in this industry. Industry, I know industry. So it is
Yes.
filled with lots of men and who just say, just hustle, just go behind it. And yeah, we so many of women follow that. Even I fell for that, but after
Yes.
some time we burn out because our physical health is also not equal to that. It doesn't matter,
Yes.
even if you have the equal opportunity, physically you are built different.
Yes.
And once you burn out, that consistency word or even the habit word just sounds so, I don't know, it just sounds so weighted. So for
Yes.
someone who has went to that, how do you help women start without going through that burnout again?
Hmm. So everything I do on my work is deep and practical.
Mm-hmm.
So we start deep and then we move into the practical change. And with that, I think we have to start by redefining what habits are and what they're for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I said habits are supportive, that's their purpose. So another way to phrase that is habits are helpers. When I own that, and I also have more of this research that helps me explain that the way
Mm-hmm.
habits have been taught were designed for men, not for women, then maybe with those two deep, understandings in mind, I can start doing it differently on the outside and practically. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I walk through in the book. But what I'll say here is what I would tell that woman is instead of giving her like, here's a 10-step process, because
Mm-hmm.
that is in the book, but
Yeah.
instead
Mm-hmm.
of giving the 10-step process, what I would tell that woman is something that I had a client say years ago. And this is one of the other few things that just stuck with my brain and stayed there. So
Mm-hmm.
if I remember it, it's pretty good and it's pretty important. We were
Right.
talking about this whole model of
Hmm.
choosing progress instead of perfectionism, instead of uh, really insisting on this perfectionistic all or nothing model, like how to do things more gently, more
Hmm.
humanely, with self-compassion, not shame. And this woman was terrified of trying a new way.
Hmm.
And I gently pushed her to. And months later in our coaching program, she came back on and she said, well, one, she shared about the changes that she's made and how sustainable they were and how she was surprised by it. And we were all kind of cheering her on. It was a group coaching program.
Hmm.
And then she said the thing I've never forgotten. She said, I learned it takes the greatest of courage to do the smallest of things.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to tell your audience for the women who are like terrified of
Hmm.
trying a new way of seeing habits and doing them differently. Take on the courage to believe in the smallest of things and to try the smallest of things, to try to do things differently. That's what I would have you do.
Wow. And you coach around identity as well as the
Mhm.
habits, like the behavior part of the journey. So, can you walk us through how you help someone shift about how they see themselves, not just the way they do things, also the see themselves, like the identity part of that?
Mhm. So there's a cycle with this. The way we see ourselves
Hmm.
affects the way we behave,
Hmm.
and the ways we behave alters the way we see ourselves. And it's kind of this chicken or the egg question, like what comes first?
Right.
I mean, science wise, we don't know why. We don't know why. But even within this cycle, we don't exactly know what comes first, but we know they work together.
Hmm.
So one of the things I say often about habits is habits go deeper. You can look at that. Let's go back to the exercise habit. Okay.
Hmm.
Even that habit alone goes deeper. Each woman has this built-in prescription in her head of what it means to exercise, and
Hmm.
also built-in histories and stories about her own history with exercise, and
Hmm.
perhaps the shame and the identities that she attaches to that. Maybe she says like, "Oh, I'm not an exerciser," or "Oh, I'm lazy," or "I never
Hmm.
stick with things," because of her own
Yeah.
history
Right.
with exercise. So, if she learns how to exercise differently, like maybe before it's because exercise to her only counted as she was doing
Hmm.
like a 30-minute run every day, which for some people would be like, well, that's nothing. But for her, like she doesn't like running. Like she's not that great at it. Maybe her
Hmm.
knees hurt and like she just can't get, she never gets to that place where it just feels like it's flowing. But because she's been convinced that's the only way to exercise, she tells herself, I'm a
Hmm.
failure at
Right.
exercise. If she were to redefine what exercise can look like for her, actually, if I do a 20-minute yoga session 3 days a week,
Hmm.
or if I go on a gentle walk every day during my work break,
Hmm.
or actually I find out I love punching people. Like I like boxing.
Right.
Like I got to get out my aggression. I don't like running, but I like
Hmm.
hitting things.
Hmm.
She redefines exercise. She does it differently. She's able to also have flexibility with how she does it, like I modeled for you.
Hmm.
She's more consistent with it. It's not just her exercise that is changing, it's the way she sees herself.
Hmm.
So these things work hand in hand in so many
Wow.
areas in our life, habits included. So habits go deeper.
Wow, I never thought about it like this. Like identity and habits go hand in hand. Like most of the online, also, you see that you have to change your identity, then you change your habits. But when you put it like this, you can really see the bigger picture, like how it is interlinked, and you have to work on both.
Yes, yes,
Right.
they work hand in hand. So yeah, watch the thoughts, work on the
Hmm.
mindset, the identity piece, but also you have to have the courage to try the thing different, to do the
Right.
small things differently. Okay. And it works together. It's kind of like what's it called? Oh gosh, I always get this word wrong, but it's something about bias, like the way we
Hmm.
see what we believe. Okay. Not just
Right.
we believe what we see. We see, so what we believe what we see too is kind of part of it.
Hmm.
This is something Nir Eyal talks about.
Yeah.
Okay. Like people are like, I'll believe it when I see it. But he
Hmm.
says it's actually what we see, we believe.
Right.
So that's like the action step as part of how we change the beliefs too.
Hmm. It's like exposing your brain to seeing all the different aspects, like even the new things that you do every day, and then your brain starts to believe, okay, this is the new person now. And
Yes.
so it is like, yeah, I can see how it is interconnected now. It is so cool. And so when you are going through this journey, so what does progress actually looks like? Suppose it is the random Tuesday, like you said today, like you didn't
Yeah.
had the proper sleep and then you wake up groggy. But there are these some days where everything goes wrong. Like,
Hmm.
for example, you have kids. So kids are, being kids.
Unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Unpredictable. There is in business part, the website is not going right. There is some, team member is on leave or something. So when there are, that phrase, that today everything is going wrong. So how do you maintain that progress? Because that is like everyone is testing you at that time, and that is where you stand in your new identity and new sticky habits. So how do
Yeah.
you do that?
Okay. First, we go back to that definition of consistency. Remember, the target is more times than not.
Right.
So, guess what? You're allowed to have a day where you don't. Okay. But let's say you still want to have that support from the habit. A lot of times, our problems with habits is that we only have an ideal version in our mind of what counts. Instead, we also need to have a baseline. And the baseline is the smallest and simplest version of that ideal. It's the kind that we can do on the day where everything goes wrong.
Correct.
And we still need that support. And for me, that's the 20-minute workout. That's my baseline. When I was postpartum, my baseline was a 10-minute stretching session. So your
Wow.
baselines change. Your baselines can change too. So have those two factors in mind more times than not and create the smallest and simplest version of your ideal. And that allows you the flexibility
Right.
to be consistent because you're allowed to have the baseline. I share a lot more about baselines and how they work in the book, including the science behind it too. Like there's a lot of like physics, strangely, about baselines.
Wow.
That is so interesting. But one other thing I would say about that is your habits are allowed to change seasonally too. And I mean that both figurative and literal. Like, summer to fall, like you can do your habits differently, the same habit in a different way. Journaling can
Right.
look different. Meal planning can look different. Day planning, exercise, like all those things can look different seasonally, but also season of life. Like if you're just going through a rougher time or work is really ramping up or you are planning a wedding, like there's going to be things that happen like that, that maybe that means you're allowed to change the habits too, the way you do the habits, or put some on back burners and say, I'll come back to that in a different time. That's what I have had to do with different health issues that I've had. I've been like, okay, now this habit doesn't matter so much. Or when
Right.
my kids are really busy, we're about to get into May here, which means it's really packed with school
Hmm.
events, like end of school events, sports.
Hmm.
We put different things on the back burner. Like I don't day plan the same way. It's a lot simpler.
Hmm.
Um, our meals at night are oftentimes like sandwiches, or
Hmm.
cereal or on the go. Like, so things are allowed to change seasonally too.
Right. So you just have to bring back the flexibility and just allow things to happen. And this really lead us to the sustainable growth, right? But in the world where everyone is pushing you to the fast growth, just push harder. It doesn't matter if you crash later, but just push harder.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you get into that comparison mode, right? Like, what if I am missing out, or what if I am late in my life, or what if I'm falling behind, just, basically. So,
Yes.
what is your internal monologue when this is happening? Like, when you have this thought process, or even when your clients, or even my listeners, I get so many messages that they feel this feeling that sometimes, even when they have, suppose, some function, even if they go for suppose 3 days 4 days for that function, they feel like they are missing out in their life, like whether it's their health journey, their workout journey, or even social media journey. So
Yes.
what is your internal monologue? How do you tell yourself that it's absolutely okay to live your life a little?
Mm-hmm. Um, I think this goes to one of the biggest lies we all believe. And
Hmm.
the lie is overnight success.
Right.
Okay. Coupled with the lie of perfectionism, that it's even possible. Because guess what? Perfection isn't possible.
Hmm.
Whether you're on the overachieving or underachieving side of the spectrum of perfectionism, you are believing a lie that perfect is possible. Okay.
Right.
But coupled with that is the lie of overnight success, that people just get there all of a sudden.
Exactly.
So whenever you see someone who looks like they have the things you want and it just
Mm-hmm.
looked easy for them, I would really challenge that thinking and get curious about it. Be like, how many years have they actually worked on this? How many failures did they have along the way?
Mm-hmm.
And if it looks like it was pretty quick and pretty easy, I would also challenge this whole price part that we talked about. What price did they pay then? Maybe they've
Mm-hmm.
achieved in this one area, but where else has their life been paying a
Right.
price for that? And this isn't to downplay people's success at all. It's to level it, to
Mm-hmm.
understand that it's not just one type of person who gets to be good at things
Mm-hmm.
or to get to that end goal. And what progress really looks like is going to be different for each person, but it really is a small wins build over time thing. It's having
Right.
faith in that long game, that this is how things actually change in real time. When I first started recovering from my eating disorders, the best thing I heard from the therapist I had then, I had a different therapist then. Um, I was mad I wasn't better like
Mm-hmm.
overnight because I was trying so hard, but things got worse.
Oh.
Things got a lot worse. And I felt a lot of despair over that because I was
Mm-hmm.
trying so hard. He told me, Monica, this is probably something you will live with the rest of your life. And that may sound like the worst thing a therapist could tell someone who was trying
Yeah.
to recover from an eating disorder, right?
Right.
It was actually the best thing for me
Mm-hmm.
because it helped me know that I didn't have to fix this perfectly, that I was allowed for this to be messy and
Mm-hmm.
challenging. It was okay for it to take time. And because of that, I don't struggle anymore. And I believe I won't the rest of my life. It's actually not something I carry with me the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So try to take that on for yourself is to know like this is actually what it looks like to change. And while I may not easily see what's going on for that person who has the thing I want, I have to have faith that there's so much more to it than I could ever know on the outside. And that's why I think we need to do a way better job, side note, on social media of sharing the in between, the
Right.
messy middle, the failures, the missteps, the frustrations, the times where we're ready to quit. Because I think we only see the highlight reel too often.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue with this generation is going on. Like when you see the fitness page, you see their peak at the fitness. When you see some business person, you see their success at the business. And the problem is we are comparing ourselves with two different people with two different peaks and start
Yes,
comparing ourselves.
that's right.
Yeah. And so if someone is listening to this, so how do you, what would you tell them that who is, waiting for the permission to, just start where you
Yeah.
are and it's okay. Like you are just enough. So what would you want to tell them that they can start immediately from today?
Mm-hmm. This is what began my experiment of progress outside of perfectionism. Um, I had a mindset of do something, not all, not nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The new metric is something, and as part of that, do something to start. It's all about that starting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we can create momentum instead of waiting on motivation. We can get that ball rolling instead of waiting for the perfect time, or the money, or the energy, or the freed up schedule, because those times will never arrive. And
Right.
never all at once for sure. So do something to start.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Wow, this is so cool. And what would you want to tell more about your book? Because I am personally so excited to get my hands on your book because it sounds like I can relate to it 100% because I have been through that pendulum swings and I can completely
Yes.
relate. And sometimes I drop the ball myself. Like when, things are going good and one thing happens, I just drop the ball in all areas of my life. I just, okay, let it go, I
Yeah.
don't want to do it anymore, I go into that mindset. So I think this book is really gonna help me. So what would you want to tell more about the book and just one message to all the listeners?
hmm I think it goes back to what I said earlier that this was designed by a woman for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for you. And it's actually like Nisha, it's for you. Like that's who I
Right.
had in mind.
Yeah.
writing this book. It wasn't like, here's how to have grit and superhuman like power and self-discipline and today's your day and you're the one
Yeah.
in charge of your life. It's like, guess what? We all live life.
Hmm.
And life isn't easy. And for women, it's harder in many ways because of our limitations, thanks to invisible labor.
Hmm.
So, how do we work with that
Hmm.
and have the support we need to be the person we want to be? So, that's who it's for.
Hmm.
Um, so, if you like this conversation, you're going to love the book. So, go to stickyhabitsbook.com. I will say, if your listeners are international, we don't have rights to
Hmm.
those yet because I'm a first time author.
Hmm.
They're not ready to take a risk on me in that way
Right.
yet. But
Hmm.
if you're like, I really want this book,
Yeah.
here's what we can do. Let's work together. You can email me at
Hmm.
hello@aboutprogress.com and I will forward every email from an
Hmm.
international potential customer to my publisher.
Wow, we can do
Because then I
that.
can
I can.
say,
Yeah.
hey, hey, people want this.
Hmm.
I would love to get those rights internationally. There should be an ebook though, so that should
Wow.
be
Yeah.
accessible internationally, and we're pretty sure an audiobook too. So we're not.
Perfect.
It's a whole different process to do an audiobook, but it's pretty certain. So there's still going to be versions of you, but if you want the physical copy, email me at
Hmm.
hello@aboutprogress.com, say where you're from, and say that you want the book, and then I'll forward it to my publisher
Hmm.
every time.
Wow. We would definitely email you, and I would urge all the listeners to email because we definitely need this book here because I know it will help so many women just to step out of their this, box and just live their life a little and still succeed. And
Yes,
Monica, this is the exact conversation I thought it would be, and it was better than that. I really got the nuggets that I
wonderful.
could keep with me for so long.
You are a wonderful interviewer, Nisha. I
Thank
truly enjoyed my
you.
time with you so much. So thank you for being so thoughtful about our time together and having the best questions ever.
Thank you so much.